I'm joined now by Mr. Arne Walther. He was the first Secretary General of the International Energy Forum, and he's now an international consultant. And we're absolutely thrilled that you're back here with us today, and I see Dr. Sun has put you to work. So tell me a little bit, you were looking at particularly downstream. Now, maybe not something we might have talked about at the IEF many years ago, but we can see really the scope and the expansion and the topics that have been looked at. Tell us a little bit just about where the importance is laid on the downstream now.
Well, as you said, the downstream hasn't been discussed very much before, but I think this testifies to the growing scope of the dialogue. And what emerged in our discussion was also that the IEA and OPEC, they are saying more or less the same thing. And that reminds me of the situation 10, 15, 20 years back when they were confrontational. And they couldn't be seen in the same room together. Now we have seen, thanks to the IF, how the process of dialogue has continued from when it started in 1991. It's being expanded. It's a global dialogue. It's not just IEA countries and OPEC countries, but also powerhouses such as India, China, Russia, Brazil. So everyone is here on an equal basis, and that is unique. And also unique is that they don't have to make decisions. They're exchanging views and then go back to their capitals and make more informed decisions. So that's the core of the IF.
And indeed, you must be very proud to have been at the very foundation of that when you were looking at what we could do with an organization like that. I mean, how exciting, and to actually see it here years later. How many years later? I should know this, but you can maybe tell me that too. But, and again, talk to me a little bit about what you've heard today, the dialogue that's going on. There's a great buzz around the place, really, isn't there?
There's a great buzz, but if I can express just one little disappointment, and that is that there are no IEA ministers here. You have OPEC ministers and ministers from a wide range of other countries. And for the IEA to be a balanced dialogue, you should have, let's say, all organizations, all countries, all interests represented at that political level. That was the idea of this, to have a political dialogue. But then you have to have politicians to dance. You can't just walk around by yourself.
Now, I do think we did get some of the IOCs and some of the international IOCs, so we got a bit of representation from a few countries. But again, I totally take on board what you say. But again, also the involvement of the IOCs now. We're seeing more and more of this too. And really, I think the level of dialogue here and the people who are coming has expanded greatly.
Yeah. You know, the buzz here, of course, is Asia's increasing importance, the center of global political, economic gravity already here. And it's especially timely now to have this in India. Also in the refinery roundtable that I chaired, India is a super hub, a super refinery hub. They are refining more than they need. And that gives them export earnings. And they don't have to pay for refined products abroad. They can give added value to the crude they import. And Prime Minister Modi was very, very clear in his inaugural speech that India is beefing up its refinery downstream industry. And this is really an interesting play to watch ahead. At the same time, European refineries, they have seen better days. And I asked at the end what degree of optimism my panelists had. A scale from 0 to 5. 5 would be a golden age, 0 dark, and they landed at a cautiously optimistic figure. So I was happy for that.
Well, that's good to know. Now, talk to me just a little bit before we close here on just in terms of the IEF and the dialogue. Do you think that it's got a good life ahead of it? I'm sure you'll wish it well. And still a lot of work to be done. Their role is even more timely. I think the data that's been collected here, the growth of that data collection, and of course the relevancy as well.
No, the IEF was intended as a policy-driven forum, driven by ministers. And for the IEF to have a future, as I see it, you have to have more ministers present. And this is a unique opportunity for networking, for listening to others, meeting people. So I would really hope that an extra effort is put in when the next IF takes place. I understand it is probably in China.